let's try a new introduction. This one will be a little more subdued. Usually I get into my like radio voice.
Yeah.
But let's do a different radio. Yeah. Let's do like NPR. Like,
okay.
Welcome to New Way Stories, a comedy podcast about creativity and how it's used to make the world a better place.
And farts.
And
that's just like NPR.
We also talk about movies, comic books, and generally anything we want. My name is Jesse Roberts. Some have called me a nasally voice of a generation, which is great for podcasting. Darius Giles is my co-host. He's been called many things, none of which we can repeat on the air. And with us, as always, is our producer, Ben Salazar, who is rarely called at all.
Ben. Yeah, so good to see you, Ben.
So good to see you. Today, we're talking about the summer of 2025 with the drop of the Fantastic Four teaser trailer and the Superman trailer. Yeah. We got thinking, what does this summer mean for the future of comic book movies? We have an incredible guest. No, we don't have. Okay, we're out of it. That was fun. Wasn't that fun, guys?
I like it. I feel like
that could play.
Yeah,
that could play. All right, before we talk about,
people are going to listen to 5 seconds of it and be like, "Oh, this is not for me."
There is an analytic thing that we can see. They go, "All right,
when
how fast can people drop?"
And it's always the exact...
We should have done it for like 3 minutes. Like, can people get through the full 3 minutes?
Yeah. It's always exactly, if you look at the time, it's always exactly when Darius starts rambling.
That honestly sounds probably
That would be really funny if that actually was, you're like, okay, everybody dropped off at 40 minutes and you go, that was right before or right after Darius started his rant. That would be really funny. Okay, so I want to hit just a couple things before we get into the comic book talk, and I want to talk about the Super Bowl, but first, we didn't record because Ben was out of town, and
you throwing that on me?
I also was out of town.
Yeah, why did they me first?
And it was purely Ben's fault. I was in Arizona. We've been doing this thing with our friends where we go down to Arizona and go to one day of the golf tournament down there, the Waste Management, and so we stayed in.
Waste Management is a sick name for a punk band.
If it isn't already.
There was a guy, so we're like in this tent, and this guy kept putting his empty bottles like on, we were like huddled around this like very small table, and this guy kept putting his like empty cup on our table, and there's literally garbages everywhere. And I like came up and our group complained, they go, man, this guy keeps like putting his, cups on our table. And I go, we're at the Waste Management. There's garbage cans everywhere, and you keep putting it on our table. So here's a couple things that I just want to get off my chest.
Get it off.
Yeah.
So we were in this super dope Airbnb. It had a heated pool, and it had I don't think they really make pools with diving boards anymore, which is...
probably because it's a liability.
It's a darn shame, though, because I want to... Like, they go, hey, we're going to hang out at the pool for 3 hours. And I go, there's no diving board. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So it's also all pretty shallow, okay? Deepest spot goes up to your, like, chest, right?
Yeah.
So...
Lame.
I think they have this wall here that is, that's a waterfall. But I go, the moment I step out, right? I see this wall next to the pool, and I go,
off that waterfall.
I'm going to backflip off of that. And so, again, the landing zone is like maybe to my belly button, right, of water. And so, I'm a little older, a little wiser. I jump in. I just do like a straight cannonball, right, from the ledge.
And coccyx.
And I land, barely feel it on my feet. I go, okay, interesting. And then I go up to the top. I jump off of the waterfall. Again, barely feel anything.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, this is no big deal.
MBD, no big deal.
Kate is like, don't do that. Our life insurance hasn't kicked in yet. I go, well, I'm not going to die. That's like, I definitely am not going to die. Yeah. Maybe we'll need to draw health insurance.
6 months later, Jesse wheels in.
And if you can see
the two fingers that still move are using the joystick on his.
If you can if you're watching the pod, I'm
guys.
just like in two casts. Like
5 years later, the school assembly starts. Welcome out, Jesse Roberts. He rolls out looking like Stephen Hawking.
So
the center stage. Hey kids, let me tell you about pool safety.
Welcome to NewWayStories.
Kate's like, you're not gonna backflip off that. I go, the second I walked into this yard, I said I was gonna backflip.
It was
off
already
of this.
established.
It was already established. And you've been married to me for 12 years. Did you also not see this wall right next to the pool and say Jesse's probably going to jump off of that?
That should have been your first thought.
Should have been the first thought.
Kate.
First
Yeah,
thought.
Kate. Yeah, Kate.
Come on, Kate.
Maybe try being a supportive husband.
Kate, she noticed that the pool was heated and they had a hot tub and they had fun chairs and all of that stuff.
Kate.
And thought this is a really nice patio to hang out with my friends and catch up with people we haven't seen for a while. So, anyway,
we can eat food out here. You can eat food anywhere, Kate.
I did the backflip.
Inside, outside.
I nailed it. Obviously, didn't hurt at all. And then I went over and I started hanging out with my friend, and he was like, "I didn't know you had that sort of like talent inside you." And I was like,
Oh, shut up.
Not a big deal. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was hoping you would say. But then he goes, and now that you've done it, the good news is that you don't have to do it again. And I was like,
what?
Aren't we men? Shouldn't you be like, what's the next big thing you're going to do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, can you 360 backflip off of it? Can you double backflip off of it? These are the sorts of questions
we should be asking.
Yeah,
shouldn't you have pledged your children to serve my children and the next generation? Shouldn't you have paid fealty to me?
Exactly. Or even, you know what? I don't necessarily need that. What about you say, I think I want to try it.
Oh, yeah.
Or you know what?
How about you get your head in the game?
The fence to the yard is a little bit higher, although a little further away from the pool. It accounts because it's higher. You can go.
Yep.
I looked at the roof. I said it's not really made. It's not really made for me to walk on, and I don't want to damage a
Jesse's
roof and
out
pay
there shaking it, doing a structural test on the roof.
I mean,
hitting it with his fist. Yeah, that'll cedar.
I mean, it's made out of cedar. If it was oak, I'd do it. It'd be sturdy enough.
If it was oak, we'd smoke. If you know what I'm saying.
But it was just like, I go, yeah. I mean, I guess I've conquered the one obvious thing in this pool, yeah. So I suppose technically I don't have to do it again. But it just kind of irked me. I don't I know we're 35, and listen, this weekend, you felt it, right? We stayed up pretty late on Thursday and had some early flights. And then we went to, this is the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick.
Have a couple drinks and you wake up and you're like, I was hit by a bus driven by a rhinoceros.
Exactly. You go, we went to a Tiesto concert.
The heck is
What the
Tiesto?
F is that?
Okay, so you guys don't know who he is either. They were making fun of me. Apparently he's like the godfather of EDM music.
Oh, so for really old people.
So, well, there were a
flex
couple like 50 plus guys in there, like, and one guy was like stumbling out of like, it's such a weird thing because they came straight from the golf course. So they're still in their like polos and khaki shorts. And then it's like an EDM concert. And I go, listen, guys, we're 35 years old. We're all maybe a little too old to be here, but these guys are definitely too old to be here. Yeah. About 10:30, 11 o'clock, we go, it's probably time to go home, right? Yeah. We don't need... So I couldn't remember. It makes me feel better that you guys don't know who Tiesto is. I couldn't remember his name for anything, so I kept coming up with...
Siesta.
Yeah,
Siesta
I go, hey, you guys pumped for that Te Gusta concert tonight?
That's so funny.
Remind me of Oh man, what were the other ones I had?
Te Gusta's
Te Gusta was the best one I had.
I don't know why Te Gusta really slaps.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
And yeah, but also, dude, okay, so I didn't realize there's guys going for like 30 minutes and he's, remixing songs, and I like know the songs he's remixing, which are fun.
Sure.
He did like Teen Spirit. I go Nirvana. Wish I was just listening to the Nirvana song, but
Okay.
so it says Silver.
You ruined Nirvana. Good job.
It says Silver like on the thing, and he looks like a little older dude, right?
He's 56.
He's up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got to be.
Gusta's 56. So
Siéntate is 56.
So this other guy, he looks kind of old. He's got like a dad. He's got like a dad belly going, and but it says Silver everywhere. I go, I don't like. For 30 minutes, I'm like, is Tiesto like Silver? Is Tiesto Spanish for silver? Or I was like, Tiesto? I don't. And then the guy goes, hey, thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed Tiesto. I go, we haven't been listening to Tiesto the last half hour? Whoops. It's okay.
You're like yelling to the young people next to you. Don't you guys love Tiesto? This is great.
I don't. So I'm not the one to enjoy an EDM concert. What they do is fun. The stuff that they mix, it's fun. I get it. Maybe I don't get it, but I get it.
Do people dance? It's
yeah.
Assuming
they dance. But my point is, why pay Tiesto $70,000 to come perform when you could just do it with an iPod?
Ooh.
I have no.
It's the same thing.
I don't. Obviously, there's a reason for it, and obviously, there's a reason people are drawn to it, and so I don't want to pretend like there's not a reason that I just don't understand.
Well, they like the dance
I'm not
party
going to pretend
atmosphere.
like I understand, because full disclosure seems stupid.
It's like a dance party atmosphere, but my point is that if someone said, hey, we're having a Taylor Swift dance party and we're just playing her music on the loudspeakers, that's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. But yeah, it's whatever. Anyway.
What's interesting about people is that I don't want to jump in like deep dive this, but people crave to have a connection or even the illusion of a connection with a person on a stage.
Yeah.
And so just having the person stand up there, even if they're lip syncing, people still crave like So that's an interesting piece of
it's just standing
behavior.
behind a counter though and being like
yes. Put a sink there, put a grill there.
And also just super, I guess, racist on my part. Tiesto is like Dutch, not Spanish.
I was going to mention that.
Apparently, all EDMers are from the Netherlands.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's just, every 5 or 6 minutes he goes, hey, put your fucking hands up, and then like keeps playing. You go, okay, cool.
That's so aggressive.
There was
if someone talked to me like that on the if Taylor Swift, you see her concert and she's like, I just want to share this special moment with you. You're all beautiful. Thank you so much for giving me this energy in this moment. Blah blah blah. Whatever she says, right? You're like, okay, that's nice. If she said it to me on the street, I'd be like, wow, thank you. If someone came up to me on the street was like, time to put your mother hands up, I would punch him fast. Like he would catch her. He would catch her right immediately.
All right, so I just wanted to get that off my chest. Mostly that I don't understand EDM music, and I also don't understand aging men. Go out with a bang. I told him, I go, listen, man, when I'm 50 years old, like, I'll know when it's time when I end up in the hospital from this. And I go, okay, I shouldn't do it anymore. And he was like, I don't get it. And I go, whatever.
Found the line.
Because you're not a man.
Meanwhile, we keep injuring ourselves doing tasks.
Disclaimer. Last week or 2 weeks ago, you guys were talking about John Batiste. Mm-hmm. And
who's in Saturday Night?
Yeah.
Who freaking plays, I just forgot his name. Billy Preston.
Also,
sorry.
Corey,
I didn't realize that. That's great.
That was
Billy
Batiste.
Preston.
Corey Henry was in the band for SNL. He's like an amazing piano player, organist.
Oh, cool,
He's incredible. I like spotted him. I was like, I know who that is. It's Corey Henry. I was like, oh my God.
That's cool, dude.
So So one,
So good.
that song, the Billy Preston performance is great on the first episode of Saturday Night Live. John Batiste, I knew the name, but I didn't know who it was. You guys were talking about him. I was making, I thought you were saying John Baptiste. So I was making John the Baptist jokes.
John Baptiste, you mean that a-hole that?
Yeah, no, I said
used and
John,
abused
I wonder who he's preparing the way for, that sort of stuff. But then when his name popped up on the Super Bowl because he did the national anthem, it was like John Batiste. I go, oh, well, I misunderstood and was making jokes for no reason.
It's not. His parents are very Christian, and it's not a coincidence that they have a French name. They're from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Their French name, I do believe, means Baptist.
It was great. His performance was solid. All right, commercials. Did you guys watch the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I watch it off and on. We were watching it with a bad internet connection, so I still haven't seen most of the commercials without like a skipping internet connection.
I mean, I think overall the commercials weren't like
Nothing
great.
really-
And I feel like that's been the
flared.
last like 5 years.
Yeah.
I will say there was an Eli Manning and Peyton Manning contest of like kicking a field goal and people could like bet on it. And Eli Manning won. And so he's like doing this parade and Peyton Manning's like dragging him like his parade float like through the French Quarter. And Eli Manning goes, and I think in the end, the best Manning won. Right, Dad? And I go, that's
so funny.
so
line.
good.
Right,
that was the one that stood out to me the most. There was a Shane Gillis
Post Malone
one that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a couple of
I
funny
just like
bits. But
them together. Post Malone is such a great like vibe, and Shane Gillis is so fun.
Yeah.
And I think them together. I also think just the rise of the redneck stars of this generation is so great. I love it so much.
He had a solid look. It was like jean shorts, tucked in t-shirt, and fanny pack.
Jesse, have you listened to Post Malone's country album?
No.
It's one of the greatest country albums I've ever
pretty
heard.
Really?
solid. It's pretty solid.
I'm
insane.
sure that I've heard one of the main songs.
I had some help with Morgan Wallen. I'm sure
Well,
you heard that.
I just saw, I don't know if this was a recent clip or an old clip, but he was talking about that song and it started playing. And he's like, I wrote this song for the refs and the Kansas City Chiefs. I had some help.
That's really funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was a commercial that got cut that was, I think, is it Doritos or something? One of the
Doritos was it was like flying. It was just
yeah. I think there was another alien one that
the Tim Robinson one.
yeah, the Tim Robinson one that got cut. Like
You didn't even really know him. He's only been here for a few minutes.
that was I saw it like on YouTube.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I thought it got cut from they like didn't let it
Why?
happen. I don't know, too violent, I guess. But I was like, oh shoot, well that's the funniest. That's the funniest one. This is a quick side note. Have you guys seen previews for Friendship with Tim Robinson and
Watch the
Paul
trailer.
Rudd?
It's been such a crazy week.
Dude,
Does it look good?
it's so good. We're gonna talk about like what this summer means for comic book movies, but like I saw the preview for Friendship and I was like, I'm way more pumped for this movie than any other summer release.
Yeah.
Tim Robinson has gotten so much love on social media, people sharing clips, and his clips have gone so viral from the sketch show.
Yeah.
He deserves, bro. He deserves to be one of the most noted comedians.
Yeah.
I mean, what
of
is
the
it?
generation. He's
What is it?
amazing.
Gotta make money off of this.
What does it mean, like that two comedians who were either on SNL or left SNL, then left and became on their own,
Bigger.
bigger?
Well, I mean,
There's a handful for sure.
I was think of everyone who didn't even get chosen
Robert
for
Downey Jr.
Oh, Robert, yeah, he was on, but that wasn't that
was on for a
like
year.
a bad kind of.
He was
run
on the
for him.
11th season. So
yeah,
it's
there's
season
the
everyone got
documentary
fired.
for the Weird Year is on, and it's really good. It's really great.
Haven't
But
watched
yeah,
it
I
yet.
mean, Jim Carrey
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
auditions. They fired on the Weird Year. They fired Damon Wayans. And then he just like went on to, be a movie star.
The girl that has done like as Jenny Slate.
Yeah.
Jenny Slate is way more famous now than when no one knew who she was on SNL.
Side note, I didn't realize that Sarah Silverman was a writer on SNL
Whoa.
from like 90 to 93.
It's a long time, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Halftime show. I wanted Ben's take because I'm not really like a Kendrick guy. When I watched it, I was like, this is a good show. This is a good rap show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know any of the lyrics except for A minor, which everybody knows, apparently.
I tell you what, I loved his bell bottoms. Every man should be wearing bell bottoms, and that's a fact.
Those were intense. So Ben, what did you think?
Oh, I was loving it. I was eating it up the whole time. I watched it multiple times afterwards. He also, which I absolutely love, and this is why I love him as an artist, he released the audio from the performance on Spotify. So now I can just
nice.
Watch that be my number one song this year in my rap. I love it so much.
I didn't realize that Serena Williams was Drake's ex-girlfriend, and I thought that was really funny as well.
Okay, we'll get to that.
That's
you didn't know that?
Drake's dad, who abandoned him, is out there like,
just dancing, script walking.
Frickin' I knew that kid sucked when he was born. I got out early. Was ahead of the game.
Okay. So I've heard a lot of the I can't hear him, which is totally valid because he's having to censor himself most of the time, and usually does a good job. But so I'm not really upset if you aren't a huge fan of this performance, because usually when you have Super Bowls, there's a certain like large, extravagant kind of nature to it. And this was not that. It was just 4 different stages and one kind of platform where it kind of ended the show on. And it's very different. Like this was kind of like a narrative. You had Uncle Sam, kind of chime in a couple times.
I loved
to kind of tie in the kind of the metaphor, the message that he had there. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And it's very different because usually you have, a Bruno Mars, a Beyonce, just hitting the hits, right?
They only had
a big show, hundreds of dancers, huge, but
generally speaking,
they only had one girl or one extra like performer, SZA, right?
And it's songs that they do together.
Right.
Yeah.
Where like, the most, the worst offender was like the Madonna halftime show, where it was like Madonna, she did 2 hits, and then she had like LMFAO on. They had, they like packed in like 7 different Atlanta performers. It was
just so desperate, trying to grab your attention always. Like you can't focus. And I like that this one was like,
it's just a Kendrick concert.
It was a Kendrick show. And actually Sammy made this because I called him before. I'm like, hey bro, you got to tell me, you got to let me, I know you don't know this guy, I want your opinion on this. And he's like, I loved it because he's like, when they asked him to go, he's like, all right, you're going to get a Kendrick show. You're going to get me. This is not going to be like this kind of the normal, you're going to get me. Like he even said like most of the time, a lot of these rappers get like a big band, like, like a crazy talented band. It was really just him. There wasn't like a stage where you had all these crazy musicians. You just got Kendrick.
I would have liked to have seen like a jazz band portion. That's my I would have liked to see like a Preservation Hall jazz band to do like a nod to New Orleans.
I think getting really great.
They played, didn't they do the opener? They had like a big kind of New Orleans kind of number. Did you
in the Kendrick?
No. At the beginning of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm
saying I would have wanted
Kendrick.
I would have wanted Kendrick to do some sort of nod,
but he's
in the show.
He's a Compton. He's a West Coast guy. He doesn't know like.
It's fine. That's what I would have done creatively.
Okay.
I think that I think it's cool to have somebody on who's releasing hits, even though Kendrick has a long tenure as a selling artist. A lot of times at the Super Bowl, it's fun, but you get a lot of times people who are really kind of, I don't want to say past your prime. That sounds like...
No, 2005 was the Stones, right? When they're like 60 years old.
Yeah.
Again, I like that.
When I had that conversation with Sammy, I was like, and we were even theorizing, even though he doesn't know a lot of artists, like what, I was like, what's the criteria? Who could be next? And it's usually like, I think it's like a long enough career with enough hits and you're still sort of relevant. Even if you aren't, like even with Usher last year, it felt like this was like 10 years too late.
Yeah.
Like the momentum for Usher was kind of gone.
When they announced
out.
Usher, I was like, I didn't even realize he was still making music.
But Kendrick, this was like his year. It's been his year. And this was his time. He's like, biggest song in the summer, won 5 Grammys, performed at the halftime. Like, that's a nuts run.
It's fun. I talk about this often, and I say, like, I miss... You guys remember when everything that Olivia Rodrigo did, everyone sang? Or like when everything that Adele released, everyone sang?
Yeah.
Or like you said, this last year, everything that Kendrick did, everyone knew.
Yeah.
And I love it when a cultural moment happens like that and everybody is like singing the same song, has the same song on their mind. It's just like, I know this sounds a little silly, but it's like unifies everybody. Like everybody's thinking about the same song, and that's a fun, dude. That's an exciting. It's just fun to be in that space with people.
I would say it is tough because you do have to find. I think you have to have someone who has tenure as an artist for the Super Bowl because we were talking about like this kind of like Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan, like these are like huge songs.
Billie Eilish.
Sure, but if you're over 40,
she would be
heard them.
I'm saying this summer, like for those like pop singers.
Yes.
But like there's like have them on. It's like, well, they've been stars for like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
They don't deserve the Super Bowl yet.
No.
So
well, I wouldn't even say I understand what you're saying, they don't deserve it, but I would just even say from like a practical standpoint of like trying to get viewers, you need somebody who's like in their 30s or 40s who's had enough time to have 10 years of career. Otherwise, the person plays and all of the people 25 and under know them, and everybody else is completely lost. And that doesn't make for a great Super Bowl halftime show, because the Super Bowl is for like, it's very everybody, all ages, all cultures.
I would say Kendrick left that norm because like, I think while old people are not going to get pop music in general. Like,
sure.
It's hard to like follow. And I was like explaining to my mother-in-law, I was like, well, that's kind of the point of the show. Like Sam is like, you got to be more mainstream if you want to like make it. And Kendrick's like, I'm going to do it my way. And then he's literally rapping.
Yes. And then like the point of the show where he plays like the biggest songs that he has with SZA, All the Stars from the Black Panther soundtrack. He's like, yes, that's what America wants.
Yeah.
Nice and soft.
Yeah. And then it shifts again.
Yeah.
That's
so,
fun.
okay. So
I love fun stuff.
It was great. All right.
Good. It's
good. It's good. Good stuff. It's funny because it's a bigger hat. Fantastic Four. We did a reaction video to it, and it looks awesome. Side note: I was telling Ben, I was like, I saw another trailer, man, and it makes me not want to watch this movie. And Ben had to inform me that it was an AI trailer. And AI, you got to get on it, man, because I tried to show Kate. And I typed in Fantastic Four trailer, and it's the first video on YouTube. I go, here we go. And then it went into this whole thing of like, we got to find a new timeline to like defeat this guy. And I was like, what? This sounds like every superhero movie that's been out for the...
And then I pulled it up and I was like, okay, see, that's AI.
So I'm going to be honest with you. My hope is that Galactus, when you see that shadow of Galactus, my hope is that as we meet the Fantastic Four, they're already the Fantastic Four.
Yes,
it
they
gives
are.
us glimpses into their background, which is some of those clips of Ben Grimm before he gets transformed. And my hope is that one of the background glimpses is like, oh yeah, remember when they defeated Galactus? And Galactus's head shows up, it's a shadow, and then that's the end. Like, that's my hope. I do not want Galactus to be the main bad guy for the movie. I want frankly, this might sound silly, but I want the internal struggle of the dysfunction of the family, which is the whole point of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I want that to be the main bad guy of the movie. Not that they hate each other, but that there's like some stuff there that they're working through. And I think it will be hilarious and apropos if Galactus shows up in a flashback. They've already defeated Galactus.
Well, so you're half right, half wrong.
You're half right, half Mexican.
Nice.
I'm mostly Mexican.
I meant to say half white. I meant to say half white. That sounded real bad. That sounded real bad. You know what though? Clip it. Put it on Instagram. Let's see how it does.
So I remember that just reminded me. The director did. They were doing some interviews and they were like, "Yeah, one of the biggest things we're not doing in Origin. We might kind of go back to it just to kind of emphasize some of the kind of the beats, but but I believe Galactus and Silver Surfer are the kind of main antagonists. But I remember this tagline at the end of it where it was like, "This big threat, blah blah blah," but it gets personal, something like that. So I think
Galactus is like, actually, the whole time I've just been trying to go out with Sue Storm, and since Reed has never proposed, I thought maybe, I don't know, does a guy have a chance? I'm the devourer of worlds, but really, I just want to devour your world.
It doesn't hurt to ask. Yeah. Okay. So
that would actually be hilarious.
We should set this up. The whole reason we're talking about this is because we think it's a pivotal moment in the summer
history.
In history, yep. This is the Summer Olympics when Jesse Owens wins 4 gold medals in Germany.
Yep.
This is like
1912.
I think it's in the 30s.
Yep.
Because it's right before World War II. Germany's hosting, and then a black guy just owns everybody. And he goes, "Do you have the superior race? Because I literally won this race 4 times." And then that started World War II.
You can call me Master Race.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's the summer right before, your senior year in high school. So like the last summer. This is for Marvel and DC.
Whoa.
Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Can either set us up for a new Marvel run where they're delivering incredible content.
Yep.
Or if it flops, they need to retreat.
Honestly, this is not. It's not looking good.
And
for
then
them.
the same DC.
Yeah.
They've got this momentum. They got a little wonder.
Yeah.
And if they don't capitalize with Superman, it's same old DC. Or do they supplant Marvel in content creation? So
it's interesting. They won't even have to supplant Marvel in the sense that like
Marvel supplanted itself.
I think, it's almost like we're at the point where like Marvel has to save whatever they've got left.
Well, it definitely is.
If they don't, that's fine.
It's the correct swing, right? Marvel's like, hey, we've just been destroying for 15 years. And the DC is like, all right, you're going down. And this is where we get the aged champion and we get to knock you out and then be the champion.
In the face while you're sleeping.
Like, here's some of the, I have the list of some of the kind of the recent runs for the past like 3 or 4 years for Marvel. Eternals, No Way Home, Doctor Strange, Love and Thunder, Wakanda Forever, and then we had Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, The Marvels, Deadpool, Wolverine, Captain America, Brave New World, which just came out today.
Okay, so like if you look at it, here's the funny thing, is if Marvel hadn't made all of the stinkers, then what they would be left with is they'd be left with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which was rave reviews. No Way Home. No Way Home. Rave reviews. Deadpool, Wolverine, rave reviews and box
Guardians
office.
Volume 3.
Guardians 3. So and that's over the last 4 years. So if they had just released their best stuff and trimmed the fat, then they would have made so much money and have a much better reputation. That's interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting. When you put it like that, it's funny because I think that I think when you do something bad, it ruins you immediately. Well, and you have to do so much good to reestablish your reputation. And so it's funny that you say that. I go, oh man, you're right. Those are like 4 or 5 like really good movies. And I'll tell you, I only think about the Marvels. You go, sum up Marvel in the last 5 years, and I'll go, well, the Eternals and Marvels sums it up
or
pretty good.
I think Love and Thunder, that one.
Take your pick of Disney Plus.
Yeah, I was going to mention.
And it's a dumpster fire. Yeah. That's the sum up. But then you go, oh shoot, actually they made some pretty good movies.
So like,
you also. Sorry, go ahead, Ben. Sorry, go ahead.
He just mentioned Disney Plus. We have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, Echo, Agatha All Along, which they're not batting it. They don't have a good record for
They're
those.
not batting 1,000. They're
their
not batting
record-
300. They're not even doing good to baseball standards.
Their record though, like it's not the same, but it's in a much lesser of a similar vein. WandaVision was well received generally.
Yep.
And it was
Loki
good.
is.
Loki 1 and 2 were phenomenally received. They're some of the best stuff that Marvel's done. I think a lot of people would say they're some of the best stuff that Marvel's done.
I'd agree.
And then Hawkeye, people love Hawkeye. I haven't heard anyone say a bad thing about Hawkeye. And then what's the other one that's like decent? I've heard great things about Agatha. So I didn't watch Agatha, but I've heard people say good things.
But that's the thing though. Like you have such a like run of stinkers that it doesn't get people excited for the next thing.
That's what I
Like
mean.
yeah. So recently, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is their kind of animated Spider-Man, it's not really part of the MCU.
Kind of looks sick.
I love it.
Yeah.
We're watching it right now. It's not Malia's favorite. So it's not in the MCU. It's MCU adjacent. It's just kind of like the new Spider-Man show that's similar to the MCU. So I think for kids to kind of like, it's not too different. They can still kind of like.
Is it not like Tom Holland's Spider-Man before
It is not.
he meets Iron Man?
Yeah,
Okay,
it is
never
not.
mind then.
Yeah,
I don't
that
wanna
was
get into it. I don't know anything
that was
about
the
it.
original, but it's its own thing, and I absolutely love it. You guys should definitely
Sounds
check
cool.
it out.
I would like to
Super
watch
easy to watch. Great animation.
I think too you oversaturate, like Marvel oversaturated the market, and then at least this is my feeling, is that I like when I was in high school, you had like 2 or 3 maybe like releases all year long, and you had one like real summer release, right? Yeah, like the Hulk and Iron Man, like those were the 2008 like releases. But then it just like kept going, and you're like you've got one big one in winter, 1 or 2 in winter and Christmas, and you got like 3 or 4, and then you got one in April, and you're like, oh, and then they're doing Disney Plus, and pretty quickly, because there were some stinkers smattered in there, you go, I'm not really like, I don't feel like I need to watch.
Yeah.
When the Eternals came out, I was like, I probably don't need to watch this movie.
You didn't need to.
And I didn't need to. I didn't need to watch the Marvels. I wouldn't have watched it unless someone invited me, and I just like going to the theater. But
here's what DC has that they can capitalize on, and they are capitalizing on, and this is why I think Superman will be a success regardless, is Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. Correct me if I'm wrong. Those are the 3 comic book characters that are the most successful IPs commercially, right?
Yes, I believe you're right. I don't need to look that up. I
And
think
so
you're
with
correct.
Superman, you don't have to convince people. Like Marvel, the thing that Marvel did is they took superheroes. For us, the Avengers, we always loved the Avengers. Like me and Jesse, and I imagine Ben, you kind of grew up on the MCU though. Me and Jesse were amped to hear about an Iron Man movie. We were amped to hear about all these characters that we knew about that were not movies yet. We were like, that's going to be sick. Everybody else was like, why would I watch another superhero movie? And then Marvel surprised them.
Yes.
yeah,
DC just has to deliver 50% of what people want. And it's like Spider-Man. Like, why can you not lose with Spider-Man? Because everyone already loves him. You can make a sucky Spider-Man movie and people will still love it.
Yeah.
it's true.
They like
Looking at you, Garfield.
Yeah.
What I love about The Amazing Spider-Man, we talked about this a year ago, was most of the movie is just him being a kid and being in a relationship with MJ. And that's why I love that movie. Anyway, sorry.
So here's another thing about Marvel. I think
Not MJ, but
Gwen Stacy.
I think Marvel, I think Kevin Feige is course correcting, but I think it was already too late on some of these projects that were already in development. So what you've already kind of seen in the past few years, maybe a couple months, that haven't been great, I think it was already too late for those.
car is already on fire.
Yeah, the car is already on fire.
Yeah.
I think he is course correcting, especially what it sounds like they're planning to do next, and the conversations they've had with the Russo brothers and their writers.
Oh, interesting. Because they're coming back to write Secret Wars. Is that right?
Doomsday and Secret Wars. It'll be kind of the new Infinity War and Endgame. So I think they are course correcting, but there were so many already like dominoes falling. It was a little too late.
Bro.
And he was already stretched too thin.
Give us freaking Shang-Chi, Wolverine, and Spider-Man and Miss Marvel. Sure. For the and Captain America, for the lineup of Secret Wars and Doomsday. Let them be a team and forget about all the other bull crap. Let them give us the Shuri from Black Panther.
Yep.
Give us that freaking team and let us
just those
love
5.
them.
That's it.
So
don't do anything else.
I really like Shang-Chi. That was received
Shang-Chi
well, was it
slaps.
not?
Yes.
Why have we not seen more Shang-Chi? That was like 4 years ago.
I know.
I think
he should have. Yeah, go for it.
I just think that they got lost in the weeds and they kept pushing back when they're going to do the sequel. And I think essentially they don't want to do any sequels for new characters until like they do the next Avengers. That was kind of the format, other than Iron Man, was everyone gets a first, then an Avengers, then a second, then an Avengers. Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I'm like, that was a good movie. It was funny. It was action-packed. There was like some sick choreography.
And I don't know if you release the second one today, if it'll like have that same momentum. You know what I mean? I think you should have released it pretty close to the first one.
Well, let us though bring the Avengers. Let Shang-Chi freaking lead the event. Dude, his character is so freaking great. His character is a leader. He's got the heart. He could pick up the hammer. He's got like he's got the character in the groundedness. Like, he's worthy. Let him lead the new Avengers and then give him a sequel and just let it all sorry.
I love it. Here's a question though.
Okay.
That I'm gonna pitch for you guys. Let's think about superhero movies throughout history.
Yeah.
To Darius's point, there has always you go back to the Mesopotamians to early Egyptian. You could take it back to the 40s. They're doing Batman content, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the 60s, you've got Batman content. You've got Green Hornet. And I'm sure that there's
stuff in the 60s, right?
Live action or
is there not a live action Spider-Man from the 60s? Maybe it's the 70s.
What was the Captain America TV movie? That's pretty old. That's like 80s.
From like the 70s, maybe.
Is it 70s or 80s?
Could be late 70s, early 80s. It's not good.
TV movie for Spider-Man was in the 70s. I think.
Oh,
my bad.
Okay. All right.
Let me confirm that. That's
all right. Okay.
Yeah,
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker. That's right. Oh, so you've got webs that shoot out of your wrists.
So you've got there's always superhero stuff present, right? In the 80s, or 70s and 80s, you've got, again, Batman and Superman are doing all the heavy lifting. And then the 90s. Let's just talk about the 90s.
Okay.
As a great decade for superhero movies. You've got all the Batman movies, which so much fun.
I think one of them is fine.
Screw you, Ben. Batman Forever is fine. Incredible. But you're making campy they're trying to make campy stupid superhero movies.
They're doing
and
it's bad what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose.
They also have Blade. Mm-hmm. They also have
and there will
Spawn.
only ever be one Blade.
They also have The Crow.
Yeah.
They also have a bunch of other like superhero movies and some superhero TV shows, and they're like trying to make like The Cape and
Heroes, the show.
Heroes. That's not. Yeah, that's probably. But
early mid 2000s.
You got early 2000s, but then you got Heroes. You got Spider-Man. And Spider-Man was supposed to be released. I mean, it was in the works, right? Yes. In the late 90s. So
it was supposed to be freaking.
I think it was supposed to be
but it didn't feel. It didn't feel like, oh my gosh, we're in this like superhero movie era.
No.
It was only in the last 10 years, right, or since 2008, that we're like, we're in this superhero era. And then you have people like me who are superhero fans, comic book fans, and I'm like kind of calling for it to like pump the brakes a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And I almost need a full year without a superhero movie just to like clear the palate.
Sober. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, right? Because you introduce it back in and I automatically start going, I go, oh, boy. But I do think that there is a world where we have good superhero content and it not be the superhero era.
Yeah.
Isn't that the best outcome, I think, for this summer? These are worthy movies to still be made. This is still a worthy creative concept.
Yeah.
But it's not the only movies that you're getting.
Yeah. The hard thing, I mean, I agree with you. Just, unfortunately, it's not an art decision. It's a business, an art as business decision. But I agree with you.
But I think the best case scenario is to say, hey, the best business choice is to make these kind of sparingly. Like, what if DC and Marvel had one big release every year?
That's what they should do.
And then they also did, like, I don't know, like a TV show.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're getting 2 kind of big production things from each studio every year. And that's like, and that's it. If you want to do like a gritty, what they tried to do on Netflix, like you want to try and do a gritty like Daredevil or something, or even like a low key, like Shang-Chi was introducing people, everybody, right? Like the majority of people, they were introducing them.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see, I still am trying to pitch this, introduce me a superhero, like a brand new IP through a movie, and then launch a comic book series out of that instead of the other way around.
That'd be cool.
I think that would be sick.
I
That
think
would be really cool.
So I think DC. I've mentioned this before. DC's already, with James Gunn at the helm, is learning from Marvel's mistakes, and so projects aren't going to be. There's not going to be a date to them. There might even be a year where maybe there isn't any DC project. He's like, I'm not going to release a movie unless the script, or even start filming until the script is ready and done.
Yeah.
And so I think DC, if they can do it, and I think they can, will already be on a way better footing and will learn from Marvel's lessons.
Well, and I just think too, I guess I'm kind of talking myself in and out of superhero releases. I see the trailer to Fantastic Four and I go, boy, that looks like a movie I want to watch. The base, the story is still about a superhero team. But then, same thing. I see the whatever trailer.
Yeah.
Why can I not think of
Superhero
words?
trailer?
AI, thank you.
Oh, the AI
I see
trailer.
the AI trailer, and it makes it look like every other superhero movie that I've seen the last 10 years. I go, I don't want to see this movie. But then I see a trailer about the Fantastic Four where they're like obviously struggling through family issues, and I go, man, I want to watch this. This looks great.
Super cool. I just want to emphasize the point that Darius made. I think that you'll see articles like Marvel versus DC, Fantastic Four versus Superman, which I think is cool because Superman's DC's like baby, like that. He's holding up the DC as a whole, and then Fantastic Four was like Stan Lee's like Stan Lee's baby.
It was supposed to be
like,
his swan song, actually, as a writer.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's the Marvel's first family. It's like they're the core of, and it hasn't gotten that love yet, which sucks. So
Yes,
cool.
that is like something I love that you said that. Yeah, Stan Lee was writing comics and got tired of it and didn't enjoy it because he wanted to write novels. He wanted to write, like, his dream was to be to write the great American novel, like, all the guys this generation. And he wanted to write about complex things and deep things and things that mattered to people. And that was not what comic books were at the time in the 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, the Fantastic Four from 64, 62. And he didn't. So he was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to write a comic book that's about a family that has a lot of complex family issues. And they happen to be superheroes. That way I can write what I care about, but Marvel can sell the story. And it changed it changed the entire medium. It's why the medium is still alive, period.
Yeah.
And so for them to finally get love, posthumously for Stan Lee is, I think, a really beautiful thing. And I hope that they get the love that they deserve.
Yeah. And I remember I was talking to Trent about this because he's into Marvel stuff, not as much as like we are, but he kind of was like, oh yeah, the Fantastic Four, he saw them as kind of like an unknown kind of like, oh, who are these guys?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, they're like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, no, not really. Like Fantastic Four is like Marvel's, like when Marvel was going bankrupt, they sold their biggest properties. Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The Avengers and all this stuff, no one wanted to buy those.
No, yeah.
And so it's crazy that we haven't. So Marvel not only needs to do this to restart their franchise, but just to like this is like, you have to do the Fantastic Four.
Get back to
You
their
can't go
roots.
0 for 3 on Fantastic Four.
You can't do it.
Right? That's a tough look.
Well, it is. They, again, like, I actually think the second movie did the dynamics.
Silver Surfer?
No, sorry. Silver,
The
I do love the
worst
Silver
movie out of all of
Surfer. I do think the reboot of Fantastic Four did the character dynamics justice.
Yeah.
In that the four of them, their relationships and the complications of their relationships, it was just a stupid sci-fi. Like the way that they did the sci-fi and the way they tried to rewrite Doctor Doom made the whole thing dumb, and it just spiraled out of control in terms of like scope of the movie. But they really tried to do justice to the characters in a reimagined way.
And the casting was good too. Like, I mean,
awesome,
Miles
dude.
Teller's so good.
The movie just didn't come together.
I'd watch that movie again purely because of Miles Teller. But
He's great, dude.
I would even say that Superman, even though the first 1971 is like great, it's an amazing movie.
So good, dude.
But like they haven't really
Marlon Brando.
they haven't nailed Superman yet. Because Man of Steel, you can like that movie, but that's like, it's not quite.
it's okay,
Man of Steel is
not
not
quite
That's
it.
like trying to take the Christopher Nolan approach to Superman. You're just
Yeah.
doing it wrong. That's not
Superman. Zack Snyder, he's an idiot.
Return of Superman, terrible with Kevin Spacey.
Oh yeah, Superman Returns.
Or Superman Returns, terrible movie.
none of the subsequent Superman movies are good.
So
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like
Which is interesting.
DC
I like all the
needs this.
actors.
It's just crazy that they have these. Their Marvel and DC's kind of like, is it tentpole the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like these are their guys, but they haven't nailed it yet.
Yeah.
They've nailed Batman.
Batman
because he's perfect.
Yeah, Batman.
Here's the thing.
It's hard to do that wrong.
Superman is not an
Never
interesting
mind.
character on like face value, right? Because he's this perfect character, and then the only way to defeat him is kryptonite, and then all of a sudden everybody has kryptonite. It's not an interesting storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to kind of rewrite. But at the same time, dude, when they killed Superman and they did Doomsday, which they tried to do Doomsday in
Batman v Superman.
Batman, yeah.
That movie pisses me off.
Too bad. It's too bad because the Superman Doomsday, and then the subsequent like R.I.P. Superman is a really sick comic book line.
Did we talk on this podcast? I'll try to be quick. Did we talk on this podcast about the comic book that was a recent Superman issue where he rescues his 5-year-old girl from across the universe? Did we talk about this?
No.
Mm-mm.
So it's this comic book issue, and he rescues his 5-year-old girl from across the universe. She's like part of a colony, and her colony, I think, gets wiped out. And he flies across the universe to rescue her. And so he picks her up, and she starts asking him questions like a 5-year-old girl would, right? And they have to fly all the way across the universe to get back to Earth because she's a human somehow. And she goes, "Who are you? You're Superman, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Just hold on tight. This might be a little scary, but we're going to fly really fast." So she goes, "How do you fly?" And he goes, "That's a really good question. There's a lot of complicated physics to it. So probably the best answer would be, I fly because I'm Superman." And she goes, "Okay." And they stop along the way. And along the way, he goes, "We're going to have to make some stops. I've got other people that I need to see." So they stop and they help. They like deliver a cure to this other alien being. It's like a cure for a virus that only Superman could deliver to him. And so he stops and they meet the guy, and she's like, why do we have to do that? And he goes, well, I'm the only person that had the ability to like deliver the virus, and because I could, I had to. And she goes, oh, okay. And they stop and help other people along the way, and they finally get back to Earth, and he starts telling her, he's like, hey, I want to remind you, like, it's going to be hard for you because you have to restart your life and you're going to feel alone. But you know what? If anybody knows what that feels like, it's me. He goes, but the people that I found, they're going to take care of you. They're going to love you and they're going to accept you, and you're going to be part of their community. And she goes, okay. And they get there, and he goes, she's been asking him questions the whole time. She's like a box of questions, and they land on Earth, and she goes, I was going to ask you one last question that was like, why did you do all the things that you did or something? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, yeah, but I think I already know the answer. And he goes, okay. And she goes, yeah, I think the answer is you did these things because you're Superman. And he's like, yeah, that's a pretty good answer. And it's like essentially this like hope-filled messianic message.
Yeah.
That Superman is the best of all of us, the best that we wish that we could be, and what we need and what we hope to be and what we hope for. That's like the whole point of Superman, is he's a symbol. Not of like, anyway, obviously I'm a Christian. So like for me, it's just a metaphor for Jesus, because we can't be what we hope to be without Christ.
The whole time you were describing it, I was like, I think Darius is doing a bit. He's just describing like the Jesus story. He goes, yeah, I do it because I'm Superman. It's like
literally. Yeah, it's crazy when you get into Superman, how messianic he is without even Christian writers writing him. And so that's the point of Superman, is he's the, Jor-El's like, you're going to be a symbol of hope for these people, the best that they wish that they could be. And so that kid that raises the flag in the trailer, who raises the Superman flag in the midst of like that chaotic scene, and he's like, we just need this hope to come and save us. So Superman can't be like this dark, gritty thing. It has to be, has to be about Superman's challenges to be the symbol of hope that people need.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what James Gunn is doing with this movie. DC needs hope, and he's pulling up that Superman flag.
This is DC's last
calling on the one that can save him. Yeah. Don't call on Cyborg or whatever. That's terrible.
We should make. We were almost at an hour, but we should make predictions on what movie you think you're gonna like. What movie you think at the end of the summer you're gonna be like, that's my movie.
Based just on the trailer?
Just on the trailer and just gut feeling, what you're more interested in, what you're going to...
Yeah, it's Friendship with Tim Robinson. It's Fantastic Four.
That's what you're most looking forward to? You think you're going to like more?
The thing that drives me more is community and familial, connection. Yeah. And that's just ultimately going to appeal to me on a story base.
Yeah. Darius?
After my mini sermon, I think I'll definitely see Superman in the theater.
Yeah.
And I'll maybe see Fantastic Four. I'll hope to see them both, but we all know I never go to the theater anymore. So just, last time I read the stuff about Abe Lincoln, I was like, it's just not worth it anymore.
Too much of a risk.
But I'm very excited about both. It was so hard for me to wait to watch that trailer until we watched it together. That was rough.
I'm going to have to say Superman for sure. Because you mentioned this earlier about how when the MCU was starting off and like the Avengers coming out, I knew of the Avengers. I'd never really read them or big a fan of them because I've always been DC. DC's kind of always been my thing.
Yeah. So you read way more comic books than I've ever read.
I would say I have more anticipation for Superman just because of what it means.
Yeah.
That I think that DC does have really cool IP that they just have squandered in live action.
Yeah, bad.
And so if this does well, then you're like, oh, we could see some really cool, like this is a glimpse of the future that if it does well, you have hope.
Yeah.
Help us, James Gunn. Yeah. My only hope.
I'll even venture to say I think Superman will make more money, just like what you said, Darius, earlier about it's just the biggest property ever.
Yeah.
I think Fantastic Four, you could even maybe say it might even be a better movie, but it won't make as much money. But just Superman, just because of who he is, will just make.
Yeah.
Make more money.
Yeah.
Just like Trent being like, oh, it's kind of like the Fantastic Four. They're kind of like the whatever guys.
That is kind of funny because
If
even
that's
as
the
like
view of
as
the-
a comic book nerd, I had never heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, and obviously I'm not like a nerd, but I've got comic books.
Well, interestingly,
but I have Fantastic Four comic books.
yeah, dude, yeah. The question with these movies is, like with Wicked did so insanely well at the box office because people saw it and they're like, "Phew, I think I've got to go see that again." Like, I think I'll go see it again tomorrow. So
There's
that's
a
the thing.
Chick-fil-A ad right now that she goes, "I love this sandwich so much," and they're doing paid testimonials, right? So people who love Chick-fil-A are trying to get on this commercial to talk about how much they love Chick-fil-A. And she goes, "I love this sandwich so much, I want to like tell my friends and family about it."
Yeah.
And I go, it's one, if we want to just circle back to Christianity really quick, you go, listen, proselytizing should never be weird, right? Because it's just something that you love so much.
Yeah.
But I'm never ashamed of telling someone about a movie, and that's all I really want from Fantastic Four.
Yep.
It has not been for a long time where I go, man, I watched this Marvel or DC movie, except the Batman, and I'm like, you should watch this movie.
Yeah.
This is sick. And that's really what I want out of Fantastic Four and Superman, that I watch it and I have to go to my family and friends and go,
You got to go watch this.
man, you got to go watch this movie. It's so good.
That's
Not because it's a superhero movie, but because it's just a great.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I've been, like there's movies that I've been telling people, like, you've got to go watch this movie. I'm reading Way of Kings right now, and I've told 12 people, you got to read Way of Kings. It's so good. And I want to watch Fantastic Four and be like, dude, I think that I'm going to have to go watch that again tomorrow. I saw Avengers Endgame 3 or 4 times in the theater.
Too.
And as soon as I watched it the first time, I was like, well, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, I'll go see it with you tomorrow. Like, I got to watch it again. So I would love for either of those movies. I think that will be the determining factor on which one wins is does either of them become a movie that people are like, you got to go. Oh, do you want to go watch Superman with me? I'll go again tomorrow if you want to go, if you haven't seen it yet. Or you want to watch
I think that's
Fantastic
going
Four?
to be me for Superman.
Yeah.
So I hope either of those has that. I gotta use the bathroom
All
so
right.
bad.
I got to go. We all got to go. Darius has definitely got to go. Guys, thank you so much for listening to New Way Stories. Man, we are excited for this summer, the biggest summer of your life, potentially. I don't know how old you are, but it's going to be pretty important. Check us out. NewWayStoriesPod@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Welcome to our new subscribers. Past couple weeks, we went up a couple.
And thanks everyone for writing in. Maybe we'll talk about the emails we got next week.
Denton. Oh my gosh.
Denton and
Denton, congratulations to the Eagles. I'm sure you're just like all Eagles fans who will tear down light posts and street signs in pride for your team, throw snowballs at Santa Claus like only a Philly fan would do. Love you, Denton. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.